I'm here to talk about Porto Codes. And my name is Hugo Peixoto, or Wiki, whatever. And this is a meetup that has been going on for roughly 10 years. And it's a monthly meetup related to programming. So if you want to talk about a web framework or your favorite programming language or whatever, you can show up and talk. This is the website, Porto.Codes. And it's usually a couple of tech presentations followed by dinner and ice cream usually. And it's organized by me and by my friend Ricardo Mendes. We're both from Porto. And the goal of the meetup is mostly to share technical knowledge and to meet people, because I like to hang out with people and have dinner and ice cream and all that kind of thing. And we try to provide a space for first-time speakers. So people that are going to go to a conference, for example, and they want to practice their presentation, or maybe students that are finishing their course and want to talk about their projects, or just someone that hasn't ever talked before and they want to do it, they can go here. It's a small place, usually 10 people. We're friendly, so we try to make it friendly to anyone to speak. And we try to record and publish the presentations. We have a YouTube channel, and now we're migrating to PeerTube. Some of the videos are there, not all of them. And we don't manage to record every talk. Sometimes the presenters don't want to be recorded. Other times we have issues with the equipment. People forget to press record on their computers. Things happen, and we're trying to learn to make it better, but not everything works. So we started as Porto RB, as in Ruby, in 2012. So it was a meetup for Ruby programmers. But what happened was that during the first years, people would talk about almost anything except Ruby. So we ended up renaming it to Porto Codes to be more general in 2016. So now we have talks of every kind, like we have designers coming to talk, we have medical people coming to talk about their experience with computers in the workplace, pretty much all kinds of technical things. And we haven't always been regular. So I mentioned that we started on 2012, but these are like 1 square per month, and the green ones are where meetups happened. And the first 2 years, just like a couple of times, which it's okay, I guess. And most of the ones until 2015 were only dinners. So we'd meet up and have dinner and talk a bit. And that's probably one of the reasons why it was not so regular, because people wouldn't show up just for dinner. So we started having talks to lure people in, and that kind of worked. So from 15 to 2019, we had a pretty good streak. We missed a couple of times there. Not sure why, but we tried to keep it regular, even if it's I that have to do a presentation, I will do it. Just find the time to have someone talking there. And of course, we stopped doing it during the pandemic. We're trying to get it back up. We'll see how it goes. There was one in January, and the one in February was supposed to be this week, but I was like, no, let's do it next week, please. So if you want to show up there, you're welcome to. So I'm going to talk a bit about the challenges that we have over the years. So the first problem, and this helped, or this made it difficult to make it a regular thing, was having a place to do the meetup. So at first we were doing just dinners, so it's just finding a restaurant, it's easy. But it's not easy to find a place where we can have talks. We will usually rely on companies to provide the space, and it's already enough work to find the speakers. Having to also find the company where to do the presentations was extra work, so we had a hard time there. Eventually, we found a co-working space and they were more than welcome to receive us. And all of those 5 years were in the same place, basically. Just this co-working place that was welcoming. So that's my suggestion. Find a co-working place, I guess. The other problem is finding speakers. There's only so much friends that I have that can bother to come and speak. Sometimes we would go to companies and do the meetups there, so they would have a speaker as well, so that helps reduce the load a bit. And the problem is that everyone is like, I don't have anything to talk about, or I'm not good enough to talk, but if you force them, eventually they'll break. And they'll present. There's always something that they can talk about, even if it's just a programming language that they're learning or a new project that they're playing with. It's fine. It doesn't have to be like this super mega project. It can be anything. And the other challenge is recording things consistently. We have lots of trouble with this. Like I mentioned, people forget to press record. People record the computer screen instead of what's being presented. Sometimes the mics are noisy. It's problematic, and we still haven't figured this out. So I'm recording this talk now, and I'm not sure if it's going to work, for example. We'll have to see. And the final challenge is spreading the word. So since it's a regular thing, people know that the meetup is happening, so it's easier for the regulars to show up. But we have a hard time finding new people. There's always someone who I talk to, and I'm like, hey, do you want to come to Porto Codes? And they have no idea what it is, right? So we try social networks and use the companies as well. So if we're going to a company, that helps spread the event through their employees, and that helps a bit. But this is one of the other problems that we have. So I'm going to talk a bit about our setup. So what we use to record the talks, what we need, and all of that. We have an image projector like this one. Initially, we will depend on the venue, but that was not always great. Most of them were like VGA only, so no HDMI, and people would need adapters. Or there were these weird Chromecast things where you had to go through the network, and that doesn't work. And it's harder to record as well. So we bought one of these things. When I got my company to sponsor it, so yeah, this is like €1,000, so it's a big expense. So it's nice to have a company to help you there. The camera and microphone to record the person speaking. We've went through several iterations. The first time we were using a GoPro and one of those Blue Yeti microphones, but they're not super great. So we started replacing parts. Eventually we got a Wi-Fi wireless mic, similar to this one, but a bit bulkier, which worked fine, but it's too big. And now we switched to something exactly like this, which the sound is good enough. And we use a random camera, just plug the microphone into the camera like we're doing here. And that works. The biggest problem usually is recording the presenter screen. So right now we're just pointing the camera over there, but we want to record the actual screen of the presenter. So at first we were using OBS, so we would ask the presenter to install OBS on their computer and record, but that was not super great because of what I mentioned. Recording the wrong screen, not having enough disk space, all those problems. So we moved to one of these things, which is okay, I guess. Basically, you plug it between the computer and the projector. It's HDMI pass-through, and it will record it to an SD card that the thing has. And then we need to take all of the input, like this SD card, the SD card from there, and mix it all up. That's a bit more work, but this is our current setup. So we also have online presence, of course. We have our own website, which is what we consider the main source of information. We have all of the links and descriptions of every talk. And if people want to know something about the meetup, they go here, and then they fork out to other places. We have our Twitter account, which is being replaced by our Mastodon account now for the obvious reasons. We don't have any followers yet here, just like 2 followers, and I'm one of them. But, well,
let's fix that.
Yeah, it's still starting, so. And then we have the YouTube channel, like I mentioned. We have a bunch of videos here already. And we have the PeerTube instances on visto.pt. They're not all there yet because I haven't bothered to upload them all, but they will be eventually. And then there's the biggest problem, in my opinion, which is we depend on meetup.com, which is where people get to know the meetup mostly. And this is a terrible platform, but we kind of have to use it and pay for it. I would like to get rid of this eventually. The worst part is that, like, if you see there's like 2,000 members. I'm not sure how many of those are bots. Probably like half of them, I guess. And the other ones are people that sign up but never show up anyway. So on one side, I don't want to lose this, but on the other one, it doesn't have any real value. So it's just hard to let go, but eventually I want to let go.
Now you have 4 followers.
Yay. I'm thinking of setting up a Mobilizon instance, which is like a federated thing similar to Meetup. And I would like to talk with other people that organize meetups and things like that to maybe build something like a national thing for tech people. Because if I set it up and put Porto Codes in there alone, no one's gonna use it. But if enough communities join, maybe we can get something going. I don't know. And I'm willing to set it up and manage it if you want to come talk to me and we'll discuss that. And that's it. This is the last slide because I got bored of making slides. So if anyone has any questions, now's the time. Gerard, you're first.
One question, as you are on Boston this year, have you had the chance to look at the setup from the rooms in Boston?
So if you're asking if I had the chance to look at the setup from FOSDEM, yes. They have a couple of videos that they go into detail, and it's like a super complex thing, and they have their own dedicated hardware, and it's lots of software, and I don't want to deal with it, unfortunately. We're 2 people, it's hard enough. It needs to be something that we can just install and go, and that's really too hard. It would be great, because they also do live streaming and all of that, but it's just too, it's just too hard. And you need the dedicated hardware, which is not cheap. They also use like professional cameras to do the recording, and it's, we'll probably keep improving this, but yeah.
We actually use that hardware for Ucon 2019. It's a bit convoluted. It really works very well, but it's a bit convoluted for small stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the AverMedia capture cards? How well can we use that? Do they connect and are detected by Linux as a video for Linux device?
So we don't care about it because they're passed through a GMI and they record to the SD card. So there's no need for any drivers at all. So you just do it like you're connecting to the projector in terms of the computer.
But do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are 2.
Buying few times and never did because I wasn't sure.
There are two models. We have both of them because we like spending money, I guess. And the old one used to have some problems with things like, I guess this one probably also has some problems with HDCP, which is a protection thing in HDMI. If you open Netflix, that thing will stop capturing, so you need to be careful with that. But apart from that, it works okay.
In our case, I would use a very similar setup.
Yeah. Our problem right now is that the camera only records up to 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, that's a limitation.
That's kind of stupid, but yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also an incentive for people to keep their talk short, I guess. Doesn't work, but we try. Any more questions?
I want to comment, but I'm wondering if I can join you maybe, so you don't have to repeat everything.
Okay, sure.
I feel like I'm hijacking your talk.
Let me just.
No, just leave it there. Just leave it there. Okay. So when I got budget for this MiniDebConf, the video team said, "Oh, we can't ship all the stuff over," and I was like, "I really don't want you to ship the stuff over because it's like 3 suitcases that we do the Debian conferences, and you need at least 4 volunteers to run it." And I wasn't even sure if 4 people are going to come. So I was like, no, I definitely don't want that. I want a small system that, imagine if I go and have coffee with 4 other women and I want to say why free and open source software is good for women. You know, we want to sit around a table. And so I got this little system and then I was too afraid to use it. And so that's why Wiki is doing the video. So it's a huge barrier to getting, like, I want non-technical communities to join part of us and technical outside of IT, like those hydrologists. And so this is very interesting, and I think really critical to what Gerard was asking about, how do we grow this community and how do we get cross-pollination? And I do think like small mobile systems, like, so the videos and the little wireless things fit in a little thing like this, like, so it's very mobile. The technical thing is still a little bit of a barrier. But yeah, I got so inspired by your talks, so I wanted to join you. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, we're done.
Do you envision that in 10 years' time you are going to do the 20 years talk, or do you think this? Or do you not think about it, because that's also a possibility, right?
It's hard. We're having trouble kicking things back up. I was away from Porto for a couple of years. I was living in Viseu. And I'm also not working for these 2 years. So I'm kind of losing the connections to the people. So it's harder to find speakers. And it's hard to keep me and Ricardo motivated to do this. It's easy to just say, "Oh, let's do it next month." I'm not sure if we're going to keep doing it for 10 years, but I would also like to find someone else to help us organize, not just so that it's not just the 2 of us. And I'm trying. There's a community of developers called DevPT. They're mostly on Discord. But I try to announce things there and try to get them to show up. And they're mostly younger folk, right? Because they're in their 20s and they have more spare time. So maybe I can convince them to help me there.
So I had another question, and I'm not sure how I feel about this. Have you heard about TEDx or the TED Talks?
Yeah.
And there's a spin-off called TEDx for independently organized TED events, and then there's also Pecha. And they never seem to struggle with people, but then it's also wider than technology. But they do tend to become very like self-marketing and self-help and narcissistic.
Yeah. Yes.
But I'm wondering if there's a way to bridge it or to, I don't know, get some sort of maybe a franchise that you can have like, because they've got a brand and they've got a package, and like this is how you do the event, and it's been really, I mean, this was 10 years ago, but popular with people, and just it's probably still running, but I also rage quit money, so I don't know what happened there. Maybe like looking further than tech to help tech might be
Maybe.
something.
I don't know. There are other groups around. Like in Porto, we used to have like 10 or more meetups, and we would do cross sessions. Like we would join them and do events together, and that also helps because we get to know each other and have more speakers from the other communities. They're mostly tech ones, but still, I think that also helps.
Yeah, there used to be Python Porto and DevOps Porto also.
And DevOps Porto is still going. There's the security one, the OpenSec.
Yeah.
There's the Jamstack one. There used to be a data science one. There's the PHP one, the WordPress one. There are a bunch of them, at least in Porto. I'm not sure how things are here in Lisbon.
Pretty much the same.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're done. I'm gonna press buttons over there.